Hello everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Vampire the Masquerade Shadows of New York, and welcome to the life of a newly embraced vampire. Should I say unlife? Let's see how it works for Yulia. Once again, I find myself in Big Pete Burger. Familiar surroundings, faces I recognize, mood same as it ever was. Still, I process it in an entirely different way. It all frustrates me now, or more precisely, makes me frustrated with myself. It's like I'm clinging to the remnants of a cocoon I've outgrown. This is one of my favorite moments of this game. The difference in between Yulia before Embrace and after Embrace is just... this is what La Sombra does to you. You become La Sombra, this is what you become. They nailed this. I love it. Also, of course, it's not like all La Sombra look this way, but there's a lot of things about her appearance that just scream La Sombra to me. And this could be her expression, being very much cynical, tired of the rest of the world. It could be the eyes, which seem to be a little bit unnatural, like, you know, she's low humanity, although probably she's not yet low on humanity. And there is a crucifix as well. I wonder if there's going to be an explanation on why she is actually wearing a crucifix. But La Sombra historically have a very big connection to Catholic Church. They've been historically trying to take control over it, trying to take control of Vatican and in general leverage their own powers over mortals this way and have some leverage over Ventru. So it's been one of the areas in which they were trying to be better than other vampires at. And also in the modern days, the crucifixes very often reminds La Sombra of the, in general, the faith and the great unknown, but also about their mortality and humanity, which is something that slips them much more easy with the usage of Oblivion. There's a lot of symbolism to it. There's a historical, lore, legacy stuff that's been written back in the days, but there's a lot of new interpretations of that as well. It's an interesting topic. I'm going to dwell deeper into it in a La Sombra clan video coming. It's the same with these cigarettes. I don't need them anymore. Why do I keep holding on to them? Fucking hell. It's like I refuse to accept them something better than I used to be. A vampire. Just 2 nights ago I met Karen. She embraced me, by which I mean she turned me into a kindred. She calls herself my sire, and me her child. The dictionary works very similarly to Coteries of New York, but in this game we get a little bit of a shorter introduction to the whole Vampire the Masquerade world. The game either assumes that you played Coteries or that you will just read it in the dictionary. We're not going to go for the dictionary as thoroughly as we did with Coteries, because I feel like you guys already should know these terms. If you don't, then I recommend you guys to check out the my playthrough of Coteries of New York, but these terms shall be pretty much self-explanatory once we go deeper into the game. Last night, she taught me the basics of survival. Drinking blood, manipulating humans, bending steel, controlling shadows. That is potence, of course, and that is one of the disciplines of Clan La Sombra. And controlling shadows, which is Oblivion. And manipulating humans, of course, is dominate. So dominate, potence, and Oblivion, which was back in the days called obtenebration. That is the same discipline. Tonight I expected more lessons. Instead, she just told me to go out and enjoy myself. What's the catch? I asked. To which she responded, I might kill you if you prove to be a disappointment. There are a few rules. I have to uphold the masquerade, I can't contact anyone I knew as a human, I can't let anyone realize I'm not human anymore, I can't embrace anyone, and so on. Otherwise, I'm free to do whatever I want. But for some reason, the first thing I did was come back here. Old habits die hard. Karen is probably watching me from somewhere, even now. The way I understand it, tomorrow night she's supposed to introduce me to the Camarilla, a local society of vampires. Turns out they are the ones who have been systematically ruining my life lately. All a part of some secret evaluation that I barely passed. Just imagining the reach they have makes me dizzy. Yeah, all of the things that happened to Yulia in previous episodes, all of the things that she was explaining that happened to her throughout the week is vampire machinations, basically. And it also showed very nicely how La Sombra tend to turn their victims, break them first, and then see how they behave after they break. And we behaved perfectly for a Clan La Sombra. We tried to shoot our oppressor, which is basically let go of all of the chains of morality that were binding us as a human. And we were like, you know what, I might as well kill. And this is when we earned our right to become La Sombra. After they destroyed the old me that I barely cared about, Karen rebuilt me anew. On one hand, her test left some scars that will take time to heal. On the other hand, maybe I should just be grateful. I am snapped out of my thoughts by a sudden scream. Some douchebag yelling about his French fries not being salty enough. Ugh. I think this is my cue to leave. Permanently. Goodbye, BBB. Hope I will never see you again. I'm destined for greater things, you see. I wonder what are the things. So there are 3 things we can choose from. The first one is the risk of swiping right, and the Tinder addict that smells like a bit of a loser who wanna be intellectual, a perfect source of nourishment. Dance macabre, time to swing a little more on the devil's dance floor at the club beacons. And retributive justice, a meathead bully and his unfortunate victim. I probably shouldn't interfere, but what better chance could I find to test what I've become? I've done this on stream on World of Darkness channel, so I might as well try the second one. Let's see. This club reeks of death, and I love it. I've been here quite a few times, but I've never seen anything this breathtaking. Everyone around me is whacked out of their minds, and as they keep dancing madly, the spirits dance beside them. Spectral silhouettes phase in and out of existence, becoming more visible the more intense the music grows. It looks like a bizarre ritual, a profane mass. I notice it's the voice samples the ghosts react to the strongest. The most suggestive ones cause them to appear distorted, even tormented. So it seems like our dear little Yulia has sensed the unseen ability of Auspex. So that's an additional discipline that, you know, she can also get, despite this not being in her regular roster of disciplines. And that allows you to see more. And naturally for those who possess Oblivion, that might be a very useful thing to have, as Oblivion in particular is a power which is much more connected to what's behind the veil of reality, what's hiding in the shadows, what's hiding on the other side, basically. So, hello, Spectre. It's as if something was struggling to be born out of the harsh sounds, and the dead were hoping to be reborn alongside it. They roll uneasy, quivering with desire for something far beyond their reach. Probably the same as when they were alive. You guys remember how we went to this disco in the coteries of New York? It was so much different. We didn't see any specters back then. Sometimes the living dancers spot their dead counterparts. It's usually the most manic ones who notice something out of the corner of their eye for only a split second, but never realize what they've glimpsed. Some apparitions dance to a completely different tune than the rest of us, one only they can hear. Those seem the saddest. The spectacle is eerie. At times, it's unbearably melancholic. Above all, it's beautiful. I keep on moving to the rhythm until I reach a trance-like state, and then something even stranger happens. Every now and then, when I brush against someone, a fragmentary vision appears before my eyes. A car burning on a freeway, an outstretched hand in the depths of the sea, a man jumping out of a skyscraper window. Memories of the past? Preventable visions of the future? I have no idea what it means, but I'm strangely eager to find out. Hi. And then there are dancers like Hair, Ones that aren't ghosts, humans, or even vampires, but something else altogether. Ah! This new world is full of mysteries, and I plan to get to the bottom of them all. But for now, I just want to dance. I want to meet that person! Who is she? Show her to me. I want to go back. I'm going to go here now. Let's see. Two men are facing each other in a dark back alley. One of them stands with his back against the wall, his chest heaving as he's struggling to catch his breath. People, anybody out there? I've been robbed! A brawny, ragged guy is yelling at the metal staircases with a theatrical incredulity in his voice. With a lively step, he dances around an older man who's having trouble finding his footing. What is this bullshit? Oh, so now you can talk. Good, because I'm dying to hear what you did with my wallet, Holmes. Wallet? I have no idea what you're talking about. The goon starts prancing around like a Muay Thai boxer. He's smiling, but his eyes send a clear message. You're cornered, buddy. Don't even try to pull a fast one on me. Come on, homeboy. You may be able to trick an average Joe on the street with your act, but a fighter recognizes a fighter. It's like an animal thing. It's an instinct thing. You've got some moves on you. You're like shit. You're like a black mamba, lightning fast reflexes. He starts shadowboxing for a moment. The man definitely got energy to spare. However, I'm like a king cobra. You've met your match. Two apex predators now locked in battle. Oh, so you're seeing snakes. That would explain some... Before he's able to finish, a sucker punch knocks the air right out of his lungs. The old man slides down the wall. Before he can let out a groan, he's interrupted by a brutal kick to the chest. That's what I'm talking about! A fighting spirit, even when you're cornered. Ugh. Take a seat, deep breath, collect your thoughts before you speak up again. Remember where you put my wallet now? I'm pretty sure you broke my rib. An eye for an eye, a rib for a ribbing. Biblical punishment. It's only fair on me. Fair? At least admit, this is mugging. Wallet my ass. Still in denial. Okay, let's say I had about 5,000 bucks in there. Give me 6 grand and I'll let you walk away. Relatively unharmed. So you admit it. Admit what? That this is not about proper compensation. This is a robbery. Look, buddy, this is beginning to bore me. Unless you want me to go all Anderson Silva on your ass, give me what I want. Anderson Silva? Yeah, Anderson Silva. A flying knee meeting your solar plexus. The man, the myth, the legend. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Thai boxing, Western boxing, Taekwondo, Wing Chun, and Capoeira combined into a single fighting style that can only be described as straight-up murder. I've been studying the glorious singularity that is Anderson Silva for years. This guy is like so cartoonish. he's like someone who you would meet in Yakuza. You know, like you play Yakuza 0 and then there's a guy and then you kick his ass and he's like, I'm sorry sensei. Every move I have I owe to him. So if you don't want the snake to turn into a deadly spider, show me the money, honey. Summer 2013, Las Vegas. Huh? Watched it live on pay-per-view. Women saw through all of the Silva's tricks, whooped his ass, broke his spirit. Showed him for a fraud he is. The man hasn't been the same ever since. All the empty showboating, hollow taunting, drunk on his own Kool-Aid. Jesus, of course you idolize him, asshole. For a good minute, the goon silently looks down at the whimpering man at his feet, chewing on his lower lip. This is how you die, by the way. Don't do that on the streets, guys. Like, if you do that, you die. When he finally speaks up, his voice betrays an intent to kill. Told ya. You know what, homeboy? Screw the money. This is a matter of honor now. My thoughts. Exactly. He raises his fists. We've got ourselves a mixed martial artist expert here, huh? For your own sake, I hope you can back that talk with some self-defense skills, homie. Boosting your self-esteem by beating up an old injured geezer. God damn, you're pathetic. I love her. He jumps at the sound of my voice, turns my way in the blink of an eye, and immediately assumes a combat stance. His reflexes are sharp. Looks like he has at least this much to back up all his braggadoo. Wannabe Anderson Silva's face betrays utter confusion upon seeing me. He's got no idea how I managed to sneak up on him. I don't blame him. I wouldn't be able to explain it myself. It felt like I became one with the darkness, my pure consciousness traversing a dusky dreamscape, jumping from one shadow to another as if they were different trains of thought. La sombra and their shadows. I think of some experiences I've had with psychedelics. Every blink an adventure. I was outside of this alley. Blink. I was above the alley. Blink. Now I'm in front of this guy. And he pisses me off. The older man slams down. Looks like he was trying his best to keep it together and gave up once the cavalry arrived. The goon regains his composure and barks at me in an overly gruff way. "The hell are you sneaking around here for, chica? Move along. This is between men." Not anymore. His fists turn towards me. "I'm serious, and an equal opportunity ass kicker." I respond to the threat with the brightest, most innocent, virginal smile I can put on. That's not a virginal smile, Yulia. What are you doing? So you're into shadowboxing, huh? Something comes over me. I can feel the darkness embracing me, whispering sweet nothings in my ear, pumping me up for what's to come. Reverse elbow, crane kick, low spinning sweep. Crane kick. Cool, but have you ever watched Karate Kid? Before he manages to respond, my foot meets his chin. The move is absolutely impractical, but I managed to pack so much strength into it the guy's body reacts as if he has just received a powerful uppercut. I know what he's thinking. I should have blocked it. And he absolutely should have. But instead, he just flailed his arms helplessly as if he suddenly found himself in front of an oncoming train. A primal expression of fear that suddenly and completely took him over. I don't know how I look right now, but judging by his expression, my best guess is like the gaping maw of some primordial beast. I follow up the surprise attack with another punch to the solar plexus, or at least my nearest estimate. Once again, the effect terrifies even myself. Looks like my hunch was correct and I hit the right spot. He falls to the floor, whining like a wounded animal, tears streaming down his face. I let him collect himself a bit and then grab him by his chin. Learn to choose your battles, homeboy. Let me go! For Christ's sake, just let me go! I kick him in the direction of the alley entrance. He staggers off, quickly disappearing from my sight. I check on his victim. Looks like he's conscious. Whoa, you whooped his ass, girl. But hasn't noticed anything out of order. Good. I was getting worried I might have overdone it a bit. That woman did say that keeping a low profile will be crucial if I want to survive. You alright? Need help? She looks like a superhero. Or anti-hero. He managed to stand up. His smile is strained, but it suggests he's fine, or at least trying his best to seem fine. No, you gave me all the help I needed, and then some. Thank you, miss... what's your name? Jessica. Good try. Thanks, Jessica. I was worried for a second, but this asshole's bark was worse than his bite. He's probably in a worse shape than me now. I guess that counts as a victory. I better be going. My wife is probably worried sick. But before that, if there's anything I can do to repay you... What? Please, no. No, we should have... No, I mean... Yeah, no. No. Forget about it. Just be a little more careful in the future, okay? I was very tempted, okay? But then I picked something differently. You guys can pick that one in your playthrough and tell me what happened. A true heroine always refuses compensation for her help. At least that's how I think things should go. Never thought I'd help someone in a street fight. You're something else, Jessica. You never wanted to try your skills in the octagon? Too much in love with my gorgeous face to see it bruised, battered and swollen. Sorry. I hear you. Whatever you do next, God bless you. And there he goes. God, I feel like one right now. No more worrying about being out after midnight. No more feeling uneasy whenever I spot a shady asshole across the street. Ever. Hell, I could start jogging in Central Park after midnight now. And I need to. The future is looking bright. Nice! Ah, that's a view. Wow, what a night. I watched Times Square from above. It's beautiful. Never thought this place could make me emotional, to be honest. But here I am, feeling deeply moved. Who would have thought? Getting up here was surprisingly easy, all things considered. It took more thought than physical effort. Earlier tonight, I started experimenting with this body's limits. I realized I can jump over small buildings and climb steep walls with ease now, and my whole perception of space has shifted. I planned a scenic route across the rooftops. I did my best to avoid attracting attention, just as I was told. Stayed in the shadows as much as humanly possible. I spotted drone from afar. For a second I feel uneasy, but I remember what she told me. Machines won't get a clear view of me anymore. Camera footage, photos, it's all glitched out or blurry. I mean, yeah, but it doesn't technically mean that she wouldn't be spotted. On the contrary, like this would be La Sombre Bane would be pretty much a blessing if that meant that they are basically obfuscated, or that they glitch the cameras and you have a La Sombra in your party, they go somewhere the cameras show and no one can see you because the cameras glitch out, right? Nah, it's actually kind of worse than this. So basically what happens with that drone right now, there's going to be a drone going somewhere and it will catch something weird happening on that particular roof. And it might be that, you know, like in some frames Yulia will actually show and there's something weird around her. So they will actually attract more attention on the cameras than less because, you know, something is very glitchy. And some stupid humans, sorry humans, can say that, you know, this is a camera being glitchy or this was just a software issue or hardware issue. But if it actually falls into the wrong hands, they will know very well that, hey, this is a zero. This is a however Second Inquisition calls vampires these days, like that depends on them really. But yeah, they might actually find that there's something wrong in here and start hunting. So no, as a La Sombra, don't go under cameras. It's not a good idea. Avoid cameras, avoid technology, avoid stuff. It's weird. I think if you are like in a crowd on the street and there are like public cameras out there, it shouldn't be that bad. It's a little bit more difficult when you're alone somewhere and you're the lone thing spotted by a camera and then it starts glitching. Weird. So, wouldn't recommend. Wouldn't take it for granted if I didn't try to catch my reflection earlier on. I couldn't see my face clearly, not in the mirror, not even in the puddle. My face was like one of Dali's clocks. She told me to keep a low profile regardless. Someone might take note and track you down. True. She didn't care to elaborate, but it didn't sound encouraging. Suddenly it hits me that I might never be able to see my own face again. I won't even be able to take care of my looks by myself. And what about the long-term psychological effects? This is why all Sombras should ghoul their own hairdresser, makeup artist, and a painter to paint the portraits, basically. Easy. Just get ghouls. A lot of anxiety tightens in my stomach. Jesus, this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. What else is going to change? Calm down, wait a second. These past few nights have been the best of my life. For years, I was in a downward spiral. Failing health, no future, a feeling of overwhelming powerlessness. Now everything has been flipped upside down, a total paradigm shift. A bad ending is no longer the only option. I am actually looking forward to tomorrow. I forgot how that feels. Where it used to stand at mere seconds at midnight, where it used to stand at mere seconds to midnight, the doomsday clock has been effectively turned off. A cold breeze brushes my cheek. As stupid as it sounds, I choose to read it as the world telling me to chin up. Aww. I can bend anyone to my will. I am capable of superhuman strength. I am the master of shadows. I can do anything. Tomorrow night, I will be introduced to my duties. If everything goes according to the plan, I will become a New York City representative of Clan La Sombra. Is there like expansion of La Sombra so far? No. I wanted to give you the game's explanation. Whoever they are, whatever that means, I have no idea what to expect. But tonight is tonight. I'm free. All my worries from a month ago feel like they belonged to someone else. Finally, things are looking up. Vampire the Masquerade, Shadows of New York. March 2020. Back at it again at Big Beat Burger. Familiar sounds, familiar smells, familiar faces. She looks so cool, like let me just put it out there. Yet again, I'm recalling that night when everything finally seemed to change for the better. I mean, it's not like I wasn't expecting everything to go back to the old, depressing normal. Even in the thick of it, the rational part of me recognized my state as temporary. But with these ties, there's always a hope it won't end. Or maybe that an ego death will finally occur. Be satisfied, you stupid fucking bitch, I command you. Here's all the logical evidence for why you should be satisfied. Here's the obvious direction for your life. And here's a detailed explanation of how you should treat the people that care for you. No dice. I always fall back into the same old habits. It's like they were encoded deep in my DNA. The aimlessness, the powerlessness, the spiritual exhaustion. These goddamn fast food trips. And that's true, like I love this approach to vampire psychology. Because mentally, ultimately, we still remain the same people after the embrace. And worse, we remain the same people forever. There may be some room for growth, like we can grow our wisdom, we can grow our ability to withstand many issues that we had as freshly embraced vampires. We might get experience basically, but ultimately we are still entrapped in the same brain, in the same frozen moment that happened on the night of our embrace. And that means that when we were 20, for example, and we were still a young hormonal thunderstorm walking the earth, not sure what we want to do with our lives and changing our minds constantly, that's going to remain us forever. We're never going to become, a 60-year-old person with a brain that is, just finally capable of letting go, of just, living the life in a more chill way and just accepting things as they are. We are still entrapped in the same state as we were as younglings. Do you guys remember when you were teenagers? Maybe you are teenagers right now. Maybe you still remember when you were kids or something. I kind of remember when I was a teenager and how my brain was just like all over the place. And imagine being embraced as a vampire in that moment and remain this way forever. Kind of sucks. So yeah, I love this little look into the psychology of a vampire. It's awesome. The stupid fucking self-loathing, now amplified whenever I drink somebody's blood. Maybe I should just blame it all on the misfortune of my birth. You do the social climbing until you dissociate, and then you are just this untethered, constantly frustrated ball of dumb desires. Except I'm sort of immortal right now, and I need to figure out what to do next. I watched this obscure Asian movie once, Eli Eli Lema Sabachthani, starring Tadanobu Asano, one of the coolest guys in the world. He plays this Merzbow, like a figure, a legendary noise musician. There's this mysterious virus spreading around the world, causing despair and mass suicides. A rich CEO's granddaughter gets sick and longs to die, so he spends a fortune searching for the cure. Turns out Asano and his friend, played by this violent onsen geisha guy, are traveling through Japan searching the corpse-strewn towns and fields for any unique items that can produce beautiful sounds. As it turns out, the avant-garde walls of noise they create are able to heal the infected. The CEO begs the band to help, offering them all the money they want, but for some reason, they refuse. For a series of flashbacks, concerts, and vignettes, a mystery unfolds. Eventually, we realize that Asano's music is not just a remedy, it's also a cause of the virus. Whenever it connects with people, they get this hunger for more extreme, more novel experiences. And eventually they hit a wall. Nothing can satisfy them anymore. They lose their will to live. Not even the musicians are spared from this curse. They know the end will come, sooner or later. That's depressing. The girl is saved by a mind-blowing concert, but the tragedy is merely postponed, not averted. The last shot of a Jesus-like Asano silently considering his role as savior and destroyer stayed with me. The form of this film is abrasive, little to no narrative coherence, some weird cartoonish creative choices, the Japanese noise soundtrack, the very freeform and hard-to-understand weave of themes. But at this point, movies like this are all that truly connect with me. I'm the New York City representative of the La Sombra clan now, also known as the Night Clan. They are masters of shadows, who cast distorted reflections and make modern tech go haywire in their presence. That's true. That's us. The Night Clan, while other kindred call us magisters, abyss mystics, or turncoats, if they want to drive home the fact that many La Sombra switched sects in recent years. The way Karen told the story, we used to be the brains behind the Sabbat, a pretty nasty group working in opposition to the Camarilla. They've since left for the Middle East for the most part, but a sizable chunk of my clan opted out and changed sides. Traditionally, we were entrenched in the Catholic Church back in Europe, but not for mystical reasons. Our path was that of coercion and puppetry, so pulling the strings of important religious leaders was just means to an end. The Night Clan is also borderline Darwinian in their philosophy about embracing new members. The shittiest period of my life was fully orchestrated by Karen in order to see if I was a good La Sombra material. They do not care for losers who just take it lying down. Then there's the dark. I'm still coming to grips with it, but apparently shadows aren't just absences of light to us. They're openings into some kind of hell, and we can wield them or even use them to contact the dead. The downside? We share a classic vampire feature in that we don't really have clear reflections. This also transfers to not playing well with cameras, and by extension, having issues dealing with technology in general. Yep, no mobile phones for them. Literally for vampires in general, there's like this big conversation whether you have to use Blush of Life to actually use a touchpad on a smartphone, because ultimately if you try this is like probably too much information. It's not like anyone has tested this, okay? But if you take a dead finger and if you try to pick something in your phone, that's not going to work. So I love sharing these tidbits. Yeah. Anyway, when you are of Clan La Sombra, it doesn't even matter if you use Blush of Life, if your fingers are, human-like in wetness, in warmth, anything. It just doesn't work. So everything glitches out. You touch a computer, it glitches out. You better not touch my gaming rig because it will glitch out, probably just break. So yeah, it's pretty bad for them when it comes to technology. And yeah, this is exactly what the background of Clan La Sombra is. Some people are asking, why after so many centuries spent in the Sabbat, La Sombra would actually risk losing so much and try to drift into the Camarilla, which is very much, filled with vampires that distrust La Sombra, that hated La Sombra throughout the years and ages and centuries. Sabbat are not particularly fond of the elders, and they do believe very, very strongly in the elders coming back and using them all as their puppets. So what you gonna do? You gotta kill all the elders. And that's why as much as Camarilla vampires and Anarch vampires are pulled to the Middle East by the beckoning mostly against their will, Sabbat vampires, they just go there. They want to fight the elders. So this is of course very much hidden behind the veil of some shadows, and there's very much of a big mystery happening in there. No one really knows whether these vampires are going to come back and what exactly happens in there. But Sabbat is not really a great place right now to try to find your footing, try to find any power. And La Sombra are about the power behind the throne, the little whispering to the ears of the powerful leaders. And they cannot really do that in Sabbat anymore. So Camarilla is a very logical option for them, which also sucks. But we're going to find out how much in just a while. Last year, a few months before I was embraced, the La Sombra had joined with the Camarilla, the biggest and most traditional sect in the vampire world. The two groups actually used to fight each other, but our leaders found some intel that made them reconsider their strategy, so they sent a diplomatic mission to parley with their historical enemies. The deal they got in Chicago was simple: an unlife for an unlife. For every La Sombra vampire allowed in the Ivory Tower, one La Sombra vampire has to meet their ultimate end. I still remember the name of the woman who met final death so I could begin my own life. Her name was Hester Reed, a sworn enemy of the Camarilla, a guerrilla fighter who spent decades opposing them. The reason why Sabat opposes Camarilla is because, Camarilla, as much as you can say a lot of bad things about it, has a pretty decent idea of vampire survival, which is, of course, upholding the masquerade, upholding the traditions, and making sure that, as long as these rules are followed, we might as well somehow stay in the shadows and coexist with the humans and make sure that no one finds out who we really are. While Sabats are very much reveling in their vampirism, in their monstrousness. They're like, we're clearly better than mortals, so why do we hide it? Why do we are behaving like little rats in the sewers, trying to just hide away from the history? We want to be powerful, we want to actually rule over mortals, and we want to be the ones that others kneel to. So it's a very clear dissociation in the philosophies of the two factions. And that's why, of course, Sabat vampires are not going to find a common ground with Camarilla ones, usually. She was someone with far better principles than mine, from what I've gathered. Well, whoever she was, her execution by my sire served to convince the New York City elites to give us La Sombra a chance. Then they set out to look for a mutually agreed upon candidate who'd become the clan's rep in the city. My sire searched for someone who gave the impression she was more than she appeared. The local Kurd was looking for someone they could walk all over. After long negotiations, they decided I was a good compromise. I'm actually wondering... These kind of sounds like... I'm just checking out the dictionary, and these sound like they are being written from Julia's perspective, which is a difference from the original dictionary in Coteries of New York, which was much more neutral. They proceeded to systematically destroy my entire life, just to make me show I was psychologically strong enough to join their ranks. The Turncoat Special, they called it. Somehow, I succeeded. And it eventually led me right back to where I started. I stopped writing and put my pen down. Will that be all? Yes, Miss Duval, I hope you enjoy your stay in London. Oh, I very much doubt I will. Just like every cultured person, I think the only good Englishman is a dead Englishman. At least you're headed there to kill some of the Duskborn you hate so much. Wait, is she killing Finlets and we're allowing her... What? One of the benefits of being a scourge, if there's one thing in this world there's never a shortage of, it's loathsome runoffs who forfeited their right to live. Wait a second. Of course, yeah, we know what Flamebloods are. But Scourge is a very unpleasant person whose sole task is to hunt down vampires who are born wrong. Luckily, that mostly means Flamebloods, subordinated directly to the prince. Ah, Scourge. Ah, that will be all. Tell Kadir I said hello and farewell. Oh, I will. Safe travels. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, psycho. Oh well. I'm the lone La Sombra in this town, and my representational role means jack shit. No title, no perks, no whatever. Right now, I'm the court's gopher, doing all sorts of work nobody else will touch. My main duties? Being a sort of immigration officer. See, New York City is probably the biggest vampire travel hub in the USA, and definitely the biggest one on the East Coast. Almost every kindred arriving from Africa and Europe comes through here. The local Camarilla is nuts about bureaucracy and population control, so every vampire leaving or arriving in this town is supposed to check with me to inform me about their travels. Well, in theory at least. The VIPs play by the different rules, they take care of the stuff through connections and servants. But for the smaller fish, I'm like a vampire statue of liberty. The first bloodsucker every kindred coming to New York City should see. On paper, anyway. The first after the prince, or Kadir, the Primogen Council, these things vary. Yeah, I'm naturally a traitorous La Sombra, so they still prefer being traditional and hands-on about these things. As I said, at the end of the day, I'm just a gopher, and this work only serves to remind me I'm not quite in, just standing at the gate. They haven't even given me an office. I just meet everyone in public places, such as coffee shops or this fast food restaurant. Some consider this an insult and lash out at me, but luckily most of them understand and we're in the same boat. Only here because we're curious who need to be reminded of our place from time to time. Speaking of, my last client is 15 minutes late, and I still have more errands to run tonight. This is getting irritating. To be honest, I should just find some self-respect and leave. But I won't. My sorry upbringing left me with this stupid sense of responsibility. 10 more minutes pass. Eventually, an unfamiliar woman appears by the door. She tells someone to stand by the door and walks in. Oh, hello! Hi! You guys maybe recognize her? If not, maybe you haven't watched all of my previous videos. I'm not going to tell you. Long chestnut hair, body stuck in her late teens by the look of it, a fashionable scarf covering most of her face, elegant clothes, dignified walk. I signal her to sit in front of me, trying my best not to let my impatience show. She obliges. You're here to check in? I am Yulia Savinsky, I presume. She's scanning her surroundings like we're at the circus. I hope you won't mind if I make it quick. I'm near in Elysium. Name? Catherine Weiss. Sure, Ekaterina, sure. Huh, I swear I've heard that name before. Someone else's description of her crosses my mind. This is, of course, naturally, kind of clear. This is a Catherine the Weiss that you may know from Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. Of all the other lore bits, of course, you can also find her in books. She is a Bruja that claimed back in the days to be true Bruja, and this is how she behaves in Redemption. In reality, she's just a Bruja. She haven't been old enough to live for the Carthage, but yeah, she's super old, super powerful, and we should watch out. Also, she's not that pretty under that scarf, so it's good that she wears it in public. That weird lady who owns the art hall but is never there? Weird. So it is her, Catherine Weiss, the owner of the art hall, de facto headquarters of the New York City Camarilla. For fuck's sake, Yulia, what are you doing calling her weird right off the bat? God knows you've already made a fool of yourself in front of enough VIPs in the city. Recover. I'm sorry, it's just that I still don't know how many people there, so I have to go by the descriptions I'm given by members of the Primogen. Well, the description is mostly correct, outside of that one word that slightly perplexes me. Pot calling the kettle black sounds like. From what I've gathered, it's just that your interests are rumored to be not fully aligned with the Camarillas, and it irks some folks up there. Oh yeah, she was so bad, wasn't she? Or was she an anarch? Well, what was she again? I don't remember. I think, yeah, because I think back in the days when we were playing Vampire the Masquerade Redemption, I believe that she was either an anarch or cam, but I think then she actually diverted to this bat. Fix me if I'm wrong, you guys will know in the comments. Being a keeper of the Elysium is not enough for some, I see. I suspected as much, but what can you do? She seems chill. Good. Anyway, Catherine Weiss, wow. Yes, want me to spell it? People often have trouble getting it right. Forgive my indiscretion, it's just that people of your stature usually don't bother checking in with me. They usually report their arrival to one of the Primogen, and they make all the arrangements. I heard Prince Panhard is busy with the preparations for her big party. I assumed that if I spared her some paperwork, she'd appreciate it as a gesture of goodwill. Besides, I wanted to meet the infamous La Sombra representative out of sheer curiosity. My interest piqued once I heard about her. She looks around knowingly. Unique circumstances. Prince Helen Panhard had trouble justifying the exorbitant rent my property would need. That's literally pennies for her, and as far as I know, she's been sitting on an empty property since last year. Looks like they've got it out for you. Bad. Catherine, are you trying to make me feel bad about Camarilla? Oh, you little thing. That's what I assumed, but it's nice to get the confirmation. Well, it's not like my clan has ever been particularly popular in these parts. At least that's what I've heard, since of the fathers and so on. Yes, just to make sure, you've never met Hester, but you know of her. I do know I wouldn't be here if not for her. Have you two met? No, I only heard of her once or twice. We had similar outlooks on many issues, although we tended to come up with completely different solutions. Yep. She was a bat, or she still is. In any case, I think it's meaningful that Hester died so that you could live. They feared her. Now they fear you, and that's why they're keeping you down. If anyone who's not a VIP said this to me, I'd laugh in their face. Oh, I get what she's doing. She's trying to buy my favors. Best not to act like I'm easy to please. Stick to business. Time will tell. In the meantime, I'll need you to help me with my documentation. Of course. So where are you coming from? Washington, D.C. She says it the way people in Hollywood movies say it. The way that suggests her Washington is wildly different from the Washington you and I would see. What were you doing here? I mean there? Take a guess. Government work? Write that down. It ought to amuse Helene a little bit. If you say so, date an hour of arrival? She takes out a plane ticket and slides it towards me. It's all here. 1 a.m. Got it. Method of transit plane. Purpose of visit? Meeting with Prince. Out to work just fine. I guess. Estimated duration of visit? Undefined. Right in 6 months if you really need to. Place of accommodation, conditions of intended stay? The art hall. Conditions should be adequate. You tell me. I tend to be happy with Airbnb. Home sweet home? I'm not certain that I ever felt particularly at home here. Now makes two of us. Curious. Do you have nothing holding you here? The face of a blonde-haired friend appears in my mind's eye, then vanishes. There's nothing holding me anywhere. So she has a little touchstone, huh? Is that Dakota? I see. A prolonged silence. She stares into my eyes and I return the stare. She's studying me. It's unnerving, but I do my best not to turn away. Eventually, she smiles. Didn't you say you were short on time? Oh god, yes, Kadir will kill me. I quickly begin to collect my stuff from underneath the table. You can simply inform him I paid you a visit. He'll understand, and he'll pass it on everyone who should be in the know. You're a big deal, huh? Do you need anything else? I'm fine. I was about to ask you that myself. You're the one asking questions here. That's all from me. Good. We'll see each other soon, I hope. The party tomorrow night. I wasn't invited. She gives me a pitying look. Oh, I understand. Well, if not given the opportunity, we should make our own. I'll be in touch. Sabbat party! Yay! Party like Sabbats. Horrible parties. Good night, Miss Bees. I wish you a pleasant stay. Good night. And don't rush these things. You've got your whole life ahead of you, and you're in a position where you can take it easy. Take your time. Get a different perspective. She would know. She's hella old. I nod and walk slowly out the door. When I lose sight of the restaurant, I sprint towards the subway. Slow night? That's my boy. Finally, look at his ponytail. We're going to dwell deeper in the discussion with Kadir next time. I gotta do a little cliffhanger in there, guys. You know, that's Kadir. It's an important thing. And we also had a very important thing happening just before. Meeting a Katharina the Wise, or Catherine Weiss, as she calls herself right now. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to brush up on my lore knowledge about Katharina, because I don't really remember what was her history after Redemption happened. And I gotta tell you that in the next episode. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. And remember, don't get lost in the night.